Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with the Dark Deal deck that in Modern. We'll have two different videos. One will be for Standard, one will be for Modern. This is going to be the Modern one. It's just my number one card that I'm most excited to brew around from the Fate Reforged set, and it's a good one. And now just looking at this deck, there's a couple of routes you can go. You can go a heavy discard deck, or you can go kind of a Storm-esque deck. The whole point to this deck will be to get as much value out of Waste Not and Liliana's Caress as possible, and then you can kind of quote-unquote go off with the Pyretic Rituals, the Desert Rituals, and cards like Past in Flames, Reforge the Soul. So we have, of course, Dark Deal. I'll put a picture of it up here. It says whenever, or for 3 mana, 2 and a black, and that's what this Mind Rot is placeholding, that each player discards their hand and draws that many cards -1. So ideally you want to go turn 2 Waste Not or turn 2 Liliana's Caress into a turn 3 Dark Deal. But as backup, we also have Burning Inquiry, which is very good because each player draws 3 cards and discards 3 cards at random. So again, you're going to be getting value off of the Waste Not or the Liliana's Caress. If you put a Burning Inquiry with a Liliana's Caress, that is going to be 3 times. That's going to be 6 damage per Burning Inquiry. Burning Inquiry a lot of times can screw your opponent up. Right now it's fueling Treasure Cruise, but if Treasure Cruise ends up getting the ban, we won't have that issue. And then we'll be back to a pretty powerful interaction with making them. It almost feels like it's a weird mulligan. So they can keep a hand. I remember playing a similar deck to this against UWR Control, and I first turned Burning Inquiry and then got to see him discard like every relevant spell from his hand and draw a bunch of duds in his UWR Control list. Or I think what happened was he discarded 2 red sources and then couldn't find a red source for quite a while after that. As first turn he used a fetch land just to get a white-blue land instead of any sort of red source. So anyway, so again, the route we're going to go here is we're just going to try to ramp up to Reforge the Souls, and as we'll have the mana for the Liliana's Caress and the Waste Not pretty easily, and then it'll just be refilling our hand with the Reforged Soul, because each player discards their hand, draws 7 cards. So what this is going to do is it's going to end up just constantly refilling the hand and constantly discarding cards. So ideally you want like 1 or 2 of the Waste Nots or Liliana's Caress, but you absolutely don't need it. And then you can have a Grape Shot for a Storm type effect. And I thought about maybe even running like an Epic Experiment with a blue source, but Epic Experiments can't hit Waste Nots. Then another card that I really think that might end up need to be in here is Noxious Revival. So Noxious Revival will allow you to put a card from a graveyard on top of its owner's library. The cool thing about that is when you use before you use like a Burning Inquiry, if it's in your graveyard, you can actually Noxious Revival and put it back up. So it will kind of guarantee that you're drawing into the cards you need, or like Reforge the Soul can actually get you into that Waste Not if you need to be. So Noxious Revival might be a one of them here. We're running a little bit heavy on the lands. This is going to take a lot of testing to figure out what the exact 60 will be. So I'm going to run one Locket of Yesterdays, because any like Pyretic Ritual in the graveyard is going to make the other Pyretic Rituals cost less. It's also going to make the Dark Deal cost less. It will make the Manamorphose cost less, and again, we're just going to be using a bunch of filler cards to try to find what we need, and then ramping up to the mana for the Reforged Soul. So Past in Flame can actually cast everything again quite easily out of your graveyard. If you've ramped up enough mana, you just go Past in Flames and hit what you need. Again, we could go the other route that I'm thinking about is just running like Burn and Blightnings instead. So we can have Lightning Bolts and Blightnings. You might not even need the Reforged Souls. It might just be enough with 4 Dark Deals and 4 Burning Inquiries to really get enough value out of the Waste Nots. And then you could use a card like Wrench Mines or Blightning, Wrench Mines, and then just the typical discard spells instead of the Storm type route, and see how well that works out for you. So other cards I've considered in the sideboard are Lingering Souls to help you stabilize, because this is quite easy to discard with either your Dark Deal or your Burning Inquiry. The Lingering Souls can go to the graveyard, and it's quite easy to flash it back if you make them discard a double black or a land for Waste Not. You get the double black to flash back the Lingering Souls, and the Lingering Souls will just help chump whatever it needs to chump until you can get kind of the combination. This deck typically did well against combo decks. Like I played this against like a Splinter Twin deck, and then first turn Burning Inquiry just to screw up their combo, and then that's what ends up happening is they end up discarding like a Splinter Twin, and then they have to go in and search for another one. And what's really fun is against the Scapeshift decks. Sometimes you can really screw Scapeshift up by making him discard a Valakut or a couple of mountains, and it's just really hard for them to go off. But this deck can be incredibly explosive. It tries to do that on turn 3. Ideally, I mean, it's possible on turn 2 we could start ramping up with like Poetic Ritual and a Poetic Ritual into Desperate Ritual into a Manamorphose into a Burning Inquiry, or Manamorphose into like a Waste Not into like a Burning Inquiry, and then try to chain it off after that, because you do end up casting quite a bit of, or getting a lot of free mana off Waste Not by them discarding lands. And this deck will require some red though, so majority of our deck is going to have the ability to get us free, or to be able to tap for red mana. We're running Simian Spirit Guides just for that reason. A lot of times, again, we are going to Reforge the Soul and get back 7 cards in our hand, so it doesn't even matter if we use these Simian Spirit Guides. And if worse comes to worse, we can just cast them pretty easily. So again, this is going to take a ton of messing around with the exact list, the exact 60 and the exact 15 in the sideboard. Talking about sideboards, I have a Burst of Speed in here. It's something you can Reforge the Soul back, or excuse me, Past in Flames back, and make all of your zombie tokens have haste. If you've played against a creature-based deck, you might have a ton of zombies on the battlefield and you just need to give them haste, so there's Burst of Speed. Also empty the warrens in the sideboard. Sometimes this is just, it's a great plan just to ramp into, like, go for like a turn 3, cast all of your ramp spells, all of your storm spells, and then cast and empty the warrens for like even like 4 or 5, puts usually enough goblin tokens to apply enough pressure. Then of course lightning bolts are an option. We have terminates, you have dreadbores, things like that, because they could easily go in the sideboard. Wear Tear is probably the best sideboard card. That's why I have a 1 of Sacred Foundry, because it's either the Wear or the Tear can get rid of the problematic card that sometimes can shut your deck down. Like a Leyline of Sanctity can be quite problematic. The good thing about news about this is it does attack in different angles than just doing damage straight to the face with a Grape Shot or attacking with creatures. So you have both of those options, and even Waste Not or Liliana's Caress can just make them lose 2 life. Again, just off of a couple chaining of Burning Inquiries or Reforge the Soul, you can kill them quite quickly. So let me know your list. I'm going to try the Blightning version out. I'm going to try like the Wrench Mine Blightning version out, see if it works. If not, I'm going to stick to this kind of Waste Not Storm is what I used to call it, but it did not have Liliana's Caress, this last one, and I think that we have plenty of ammo. So that's going to be this modern list you saw here first on RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.